Hey folks, my name is Emily and this is 108 Stitches, which is mostly a video podcast about knitting, but sometimes a little bit about baseball or other crafty things. And I do actually have a little bit of another craft to share with y'all today. Again, my name is Emily and I live in Seattle, Washington with my pup Norman and my husband Nofis. Today is, Sunday, January 31st. So thank you for tuning in if you're new or if you're returning. Really appreciate you hopping on and checking this video out. Sorry, Norman is here sniffing around. So I don't have a ton of content for today, but I did just want to hop on and do a little video to talk about a couple of pretty quick finished objects that I made this week. I did record, this is actually a pretty quick turnaround for me normally, or I guess not normally, but I have been more in the routine of posting a podcast video every 2-ish weeks or even longer, but there's one from last week as well, and so I don't have a ton of new content, but did just have a little bit that I wanted to share with you all. So yeah, welcome. I feel like there's other stuff I'm supposed to mention here at the beginning that I'm forgetting. Maybe you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as @EmilyKurt, and I'll post that on the screen and at the end of the video and down below and all of that information that you can always find. And I think that's it. So thank you for joining, and let's just go ahead and hop into all the crafting. So first up, I have 2 finished objects, 1 knitting finished object and 1 sewing finished object. My knitting finished object both of these were started and finished this week. So that's pretty quick, I feel like. But yeah, my knitting finished object is this hat. Oh, Norman, you brought me his toy. Is this yellow hat. So I used a combination of a couple patterns for this hat. I started off with the welded hat from Fiber for the People. It's just a free pattern that I got from her website. And I used that mostly just for I say I used it for the numbers, how many stitches to cast on, but I ended up casting on fewer than it said. But for the needle sizes and stuff. So I guess I don't mind sharing about it since these were both free patterns, but so I used Alafosslopi, which is an Icelandic wool, and this is actually yarn that I got when my husband Nofis and I went on our honeymoon a couple years ago. We went to Iceland, and I got this yarn when we were in Iceland. So it is 100% Icelandic wool. It's really nice and warm. It's a tiny bit scratchy, but it's not bad. Anyway, so for this hat, I cast on 88 stitches, and then I started off with size US 4 needles and did that for 3 inches, and then I sized up to US 7 needles and did that until the whole length was 7.5 inches. And then instead of doing the welded hat decreases, because I didn't love the way those looked, I ended up using the classic cuffed hat pattern from Purl Soho. I really like the decreases, how they look. So I like that kind of cross of decreases, and so that is what I did. And yeah, I finished this yesterday actually. Here it is. It's pretty tall. I have a very small head, but I like to wear my hats with a cuff, so it's pretty bulky hat, but I don't know, I like it. I think it's kind of fun. So yeah, I finished that, and I used almost all of the yarn. So this is just 1 skein of the Alafosslopi, and yeah, that probably will mess up my hair, but that's okay. Oh, Mommy brought me his toy again. Right, so that is my first finished object. It was very quick. And then my second finished object I'm actually wearing. So not my sweater. This one you guys may have seen before. This is my Docklight sweater that I knit a couple years ago, and I love it. It's one of my very favorite sweaters. But my second finished object is my pants. So I don't know if you'll be able to see. Maybe I should like zoom out. I'll try standing on the couch and see if you guys can see. Yeah, here they are. Ooh, and they have pockets. Yes. So these are the Miller trousers. It's a pattern from Paper Theory. And I almost said knit. I did not knit these. I sewed size 10, which I think is like the third size. And the fabric I used was the 6.5 ounce linen in the oatmeal color from Blackbird Fabrics. And it's a little bit, well, actually, I don't know. I really like the fabric. I was worried when I started like sewing these up and I was trying them on. I was worried the color made them, I don't know, I have this like association with like old man pants. Like old man looking trousers, but like look at this, y'all, look, I did these like dart pleat things and like, sorry if this is weird, but like in the butt too. You can see like the darts. I don't know. And the pockets, this is by far the most positive experience I've had sewing anything. So this is my fourth garment. So I've sewn like, you know, some curtains and masks and like other small things here and there, but I've done 4 garments. I did 2 shirts and a skirt. And this was by far the most positive experience I've had sewing. I really enjoyed sewing these pants. I did it all, I did the whole thing yesterday. Actually, that's not true. I cut the fabric last weekend, but I did the entire sewing yesterday, and it took, I don't know, maybe a total of like 4-ish hours. So I don't know if that's slow or fast. I really have no feel for that, but all the steps were like easy enough to do, and it wasn't overwhelming. And I don't know, I had a lot of trouble with the waistband on the skirt that I did, and this waistband just went so much better. It was so much easier, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I already am thinking about making more. I'm excited about all the different fabrics I could use. I don't know, I like the fit. I feel like often when I wear pants like this, they don't get that kind of like slouchy look. They're either like too tight on my hips, or like they are too tight on my calves, or I don't know. I feel like they never really look this good. So I'm really happy. They're very comfortable. Here's another look on the couch. I like the cuff at the bottom, you can see. And I can already tell that I'm going to be wearing these pants all the time. And probably making more pairs. So that is my second finished object. So both of those are things that you all hadn't seen before. I have 2 works in progress to share with you. So the first is oh wow, these colors are very similar. This one in real life is like a tad darker than my sweater, but I love this color. I love dark red. So this is basically the same as this yellow hat. I'm making a red one for Nacht. So this was also Alafosslopi that I got from Iceland when we went there. So now we're going to have matching honeymoon hats, which I think is really cute and I'm excited about. So again, this is Alafosslopi. I just switched to the US size 7 needles. I was doing the US 4s again. To start with, for the first 3 inches, I cast on 80 stitches again. Even though Nacht's head is quite a bit bigger than mine, my head is very, very small. This is just so stretchy. Like, I don't know if you can see how stretchy this is, that I thought this would be the right size for both of us. If anything, it's like a tad loose on me, so I think it'll fit him well. And he wanted his a little longer. I don't know how much longer I can do because I almost ran out of yarn with the yellow one, so we'll see. I'll try to give it maybe another row or two, but yeah, so this is my work in progress. I just cast this on yesterday and I've only done a little bit on it, and hopefully we'll finish that soon. Yeah, so and that's a combination of the Fiber for the People welded hat kind of and the Pearl Soho classic cuffed hat. Oh, my stitches are coming off. It is pretty like crowded on this 16-inch cord. It is crowded, but there is that. So hopefully I'll have that done shortly. And my final whip, wow, this is going to be a really fast episode, but my final work in progress for this week is my Plover cardigan. So I kind of was hoping that I could finish this before the end of January. So my goal was to do 8 sweaters this year. And I mean, I'm definitely still on pace for this because I'm almost done with this sweater and it's been 1 month. So I'm not quite on a 12 sweater pace, but I'm definitely on a faster than an 8 sweater pace. But I don't remember exactly where I was last week when I talked about this, but I have finished this sleeve. I think I was in the middle of this sleeve, the first sleeve, so I finished this sleeve, and I have not picked up for the second sleeve yet. I was going to, and then I was like, I don't really want to do this right now, so I cast on hats instead. But maybe I can make myself pick up the stitches for this sleeve today. But again, yeah, so this is the Plover cardigan, which is a pattern by Jacqueline Cieslak. I am knitting this out of Grenouille in their 85-15 sock base, so 85% merino. Alexa, stop. Sorry, that is my my timer. I'm making a sourdough loaf, so I have to go turn my dough, so I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I just turned my dough. What was I talking about before? This sweater. So I am using Grenouille 85-15, so their sock base, it's or one of their sock bases, it's 85% merino, 15% nylon. It's very like smooth and squishy, and I really love the way that this feels. This is in the Nacht Musik colorway, which is like a really dark greenish teal. I think you can actually see it a little bit, see the color. I'm knitting the second size. So I think I talked about this last time. I knit a gauge swatch beforehand, and I actually blocked it. This is one of the only times I've blocked my gauge swatch. And I got gauge with this yarn when I blocked my swatch pretty aggressively. So my sweater right now, it seems really small. Like when I try it on, it's very tight, and I wanted it to be like looser, kind of cozier, baggier, I guess. And it's not. Like the arms are pretty tight. So I think it'll be okay if I just like really aggressively block it. I think it will work out fine. But I'm nervous that it's going to end up too tight, and also that like this bind off around the edge is too tight and it won't give it the space that it needs to like stretch out. But we'll see. I'm not going to undo it now. I have most of the sweater, so I'm going to finish it, I'm going to block it, and I'm just going to hope for the best. Yeah, one of my friends was saying that her brioche normally stretches a ton like lengthwise, not as much like width. Which like I really don't need the length a ton. I need the width more. Like I need it to stretch out. But we'll see. We will see what happens. I'm crossing my fingers. I really like. I've been looking forward to this sweater, like having it, not just knitting it. I've been really looking forward to owning this sweater because I think it'll be really nice and cozy and easy to just throw on top of things and really soft and comfy. So I don't know. One thing that did happen that I forgot to mention, I was so frustrated with the bind off of this this sleeve. Sorry, you can hear Norman wheezing a little bit over there. I got so frustrated with the bind off of this sleeve, so I bound it off normally. The pattern just says like bind off the sleeve. Bound off the sleeve. Literally the like armhole, the sleeve hole was like the size of a quarter. Like there was no chance my arm was gonna fit in through there. So I had these on like small circumference needles rather than like magic loop or DPNs or whatever. And that made it really difficult to like pick back and get the stitches back up. So I had like drop stitches and everything was kind of a nightmare. So I finally got all the stitches back, and then I did a like Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off or whatever. And now like my wrist can barely fit through. It's very tight, but it fits. So I'm not unhappy. I have very small wrists as well. So I don't know if there was a problem with like my gauge, or if I should have knitted bigger size, or if this is just like part of it, like part of the pattern, but this was something I ran into. But I will at least know for the second sleeve to just go ahead and do the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off from the start. So yeah, that is my Plover. I'm really hoping that next time you see me, this will be done. Hopefully I will finish it pretty soon and I'll have time to block it before next weekend as well, but we'll see. We will see how motivated I am to work on that. And that is all I have for like knitting crafty content. There are a couple projects I mentioned last week that haven't gotten a ton of work from me. Like the North Pole sock set socks, I started the heel flap and I haven't even finished the heel flap. I haven't been working on those a ton, and I haven't even touched my poet shawl. That one's just kind of on hold while I work on other stuff, which is fine. But yeah, that is all I have for knitting and crafting content. Let's see, I don't have any acquisitions. I have ordered some yarn over the last week or so that should be arriving, I mean, who knows when, in the next week or two. So hopefully I'll have some beautiful new yarn to show you all in the next couple weeks. But otherwise, I think that's all I've got for crafting content. Yeah, so I guess on the life and baseball front, yeah, I guess you guys heard my timer go off, my alarm go off. I am making a sourdough loaf. So if you didn't follow along on my Instagram stories a couple weeks ago, I started trying to, so my friend gave me some sourdough starter and I'm jumping into the sourdough game. So I made a loaf a couple weeks ago with mixed results. I mean, it was bread. I made bread, but I like had a salt mishap and the scoring didn't go well. So it turned out like a little bit weird, but it definitely was bread. So that was objective number one, and we met that goal. And then we also last week made sourdough pizza, and that turned out really good. That was, I think I still messed up some parts of the recipe, but it still turned out really well. So that was really tasty. And then today I decided I'm gonna try another loaf, and I'm also gonna try, I saw a like sourdough enriched cruffin recipe. I don't know if you all have ever heard of cruffins. It is a croissant muffin. So you have to do like the layered pastry dough. If you are familiar, I only know about this because of watching the Great British Baking Show, but you layer like layers of pastry and butter to make like laminated pastry. That's what gives you kind of those like layers in your pastry. Like, you know, croissants have layers. So I have to do that. So I'm trying that recipe today. I made the dough and it's supposed to chill for like 8 hours. So it's chilling in the fridge. And then I also started sourdough. So I made the dough for that. And I am turning it every half hour for like 3 hours until it's time to do the next step. These things are actually they're not difficult. They're not involved. It's just, you have to do a little bit of something every once in a while. So it's a good thing to do like while you're at home. But I'm hoping that things go better. I got better tools for my sourdough making. I got a bread, I do not know how to say this, bread lam. I don't know. It's basically like a handle with a razor blade on the end that you can use to score your dough so that it's just like really nice and sharp and thin. So I was having trouble last time. I tried with a knife and none of our knives were sharp enough, which is another problem. But it just like didn't score the bread properly, and that was part of the problem. Like the steam didn't come out, and I had a big bubble at the top, and whatever. So I'm hoping that my new tools will help me have more success this time. So we'll see. I will probably bake that this evening, and hopefully it'll go well. More in food land, we made quiche for Sunday breakfast this morning, and that turned out really good. Our usual mix-ins for our quiche, we always do the same ones, and rather, I don't know, it seems like a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type situation. Like, we love the quiche that we make, and so we never change it, even though I know Noppus is really interested in like trying new things a ton, but it's just so good. So we make quiche with sauteed mushrooms, turkey sausage, spinach, sun-dried tomatoes, and cheese. And it's very good. We had that this morning, and that was delicious. So yeah, there's been, I guess life-wise, it's been a ton of baking, work, stuff, you know, as per usual. The weather has been a little bit more rainy and cloudy here, so we haven't been getting outside as much. We still take Norman out and stuff, but we haven't done a ton of like hiking or outdoor stuff recently. But yeah, I guess that's really all I've got life-wise. And then baseball-wise, it's interesting. A lot of the conversation right now is about spring training getting started. We're supposed to get started with spring training just a couple weeks from now. But I think because of the COVID situation and like the vaccine rollout, things are still kind of uncertain. So we're still not quite sure what exactly is going to happen. We're planning for spring training, which if you're unfamiliar, I should have said this at the beginning, but spring training is kind of before each baseball season starts. There is like 6 weeks long where the baseball players kind of report to either Arizona or Florida. They do a lot of like training and working out and drills and that kind of stuff, and then also do kind of like practice games against other teams in the area. So the Mariners spring training facility is in Arizona. That's actually where I was when COVID kind of hit and everything got shut down. I was in spring training in Arizona last year, so for like last baseball season. And then ended up like driving back home to Seattle. But yeah, anyway, so we're still, I guess things are still kind of getting figured out on that front. The other kind of exciting big baseball thing that happened, so those of you who have watched this before, I guess I should have also started with this. The reason I care about baseball, the reason that this podcast is called 108 Stitches, I am like a huge baseball fan, have been for my whole life, and I work for the Seattle Mariners as a baseball analyst. So if you're unfamiliar, if you've ever seen the movie Moneyball or read the book, that's I guess the quickest description I can give for you. I use a lot of data and math and technology and coding to help us try to be better, help the Mariners be better. Anyway, so that's why I'm talking about baseball here. But I also, I grew up a really big St. Louis Cardinals fan. So my dad, his family is from the St. Louis area, so he was a big Cardinals fan, and then I became a Cardinals fan because of that. And also I grew up in Norman, Oklahoma, and there's not a baseball team local to that area, even in the state. The closest team, I guess, is the Rangers, but there's no team that's super close. So I was a Cardinals fan, and the big trade news over the last few days is that the Cardinals have finalized a deal with the Colorado Rockies for Nolan Arenado, who is the Rockies' third baseman. So he will be coming to St. Louis, and this is a really exciting deal for the Cardinals because he's a really good player. He is known for his really, really good third base defense. He's a really great defender, but he's also a good hitter. And so it'll be really exciting to have him in St. Louis, especially because the division has been kind of tight. Not that all the teams are good, but that basically all the teams in that division are kind of mediocre. And so hopefully the acquisition of Nolan Arenado will give the Cardinals the edge that they need to win the division this year. So that'll be exciting. I mean, of course, I should just make a note that, of course, I always root for the Mariners, and they are the team that I want to win the very most. But since they rarely play each other, I still hope for the Cardinals to do well, because I mean, I grew up following them. That's not something you can just get rid of. So, and also, like, you know, for my family and my dad's sake as well, I still follow and hope they do well. So anyway, yeah, I think that's really all I have. I guess this was probably a little bit of a shorter video, but really appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed my little tiny updates. And yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you again, and I hope you do lots of knitting and watch lots of baseball, and have a great week. Bye.